An analog horror tier list. Now, if there's anyone to align a analog horror tier list, it should be me. I am that horror dude, and most of my channel revolves around analyzing analog horror. So without further ado, we've got our categories right here. We have a lot of categories because there is a lot on this list, as you can see right here. We have a lot to get through. However, we have the GOAT, we have scary good, good, has potential, missed potential, awful, and just simply if I haven't seen the series. Now, you probably will see a lot that I haven't seen because there is a lot on here that I actually have never recognized before. But there also is this has potential section because there is a lot of series on here that are good, but however don't have a lot of episodes in their series and that will continue to go on. So, in my opinion, if I think they have potential to go on to be good or scary good or even GOAT, that is where they will sit. However, we have the very first one, which is 1976, and guess what? I actually haven't seen this one. So that's a great start. Now we have Analog Archives. Now I have seen this one and I think it was quite decent. I'm gonna sit it right in good. It was a decent enough series. I wasn't crazy on it. I just thought it was okay. You can almost call this the mid section almost. But I think it was decent enough. However, I just didn't really it didn't really hit much for me. It didn't really give me great memories. I don't remember much of the series. And personally, if you don't remember much of the series, it really doesn't show that the series was that crazy good to me. However, we are going to be getting one straight into one of the top tiers, and that is Basswood County. This was one of the scariest ones I've ever seen, and for me, it's very close to being in GOAT. However, judging on the fact that I know other series that will go into GOAT here, I think I'm going to put this just at the very top of scary good for now. This series was by far one of the most terrifying. I think the whole thing with the almost the amalgamations, in my opinion, this does the whole almost intruder characters better than the Mandela catalog, in my opinion. I think this series right here is better than the Mandela catalog 100%. That is just my own opinion personally. But Basswood County is one of the best out there. I don't think it's quite GOAT level, in my opinion, considering what I consider to be the GOAT level of analog horror. It would be literally on the verge. If there was anything to basically divide these together as one column, Basswood County would be in there. Now, I had to put these two just in haven't seen because I actually have not seen them. I might have to check them out. But however, we have one called Blue Channel. And this is one of the most popular videos because of one specific video. And I remember seeing it and it was something to do with dorselessness, if I remember correctly. And I think this whole series that I have watched, in my opinion, was missed potential. I think that this series had a lot of potential when it came to the whole, amalgamations of this kind of drug that can be used to enhance someone's, feelings and abilities and in senses as a whole. And I think that it could have been a lot better. However, I just don't think the series developed as much as I would have liked. I would have liked to see maybe a development into, real life footage almost, how the Mandela catalog done it, something like that. It would have been cool in my opinion to see that kind of advancement almost, but to me it just didn't hit. I think that one episode though, with the whole dorselessness and all that sort of stuff, that episode is excellent. However, I just think the rest of the series wasn't that memorable to me. Now, this went on to develop as a Shipwrecked game, and I really enjoyed Shipwrecked. It was definitely good. I think we're top of good. If we can just, there we go. I don't think it's scary good. I think it's very decent. It would genuinely be the top of, has crazy potential in my opinion. I think that if it continues the way Shipwreck did, it has crazy potential. But if we're just going off Broadside Beach, I think it is just good. If it kind of combined Shipwrecked and Broadside Beach and then something else as well, it would definitely be up into scary good if it kept up that quality. But for me, at the moment, I think it's just good, but it has very solid potential to go up into scary good in my opinion. Now, we're going to jump all the way to Ches Kids Archive. Now, this is one I've been asked to check out a while, but I actually never got to checking it out, so I'm not going to be able to rate that one. But I know a lot of people in the Discord and stuff have been asking me to check Ches Kids out, so definitely go join the Discord as well. That's where we're going to be discussing a lot of these analog horror series as well. But we're going to go on to Chimpy Chippas. Now, I do remember this one, and in my opinion, again, I wasn't the biggest fan. I thought it was decent. I think it was an Australian series, if I remember correctly, and it was very simple. And I think that was what kind of let it down almost, because it was really simple at the start, and it got very solid and was really good. And all of a sudden, it kind of took this really weird turn. I remember one scene where the monkey, Mascot, got green glowing eyes, and it kind of turned into almost like a Goosebumps story to me. And to me, in my opinion, that is not a crazy solid series. I think it definitely is a good series, definitely. But in my opinion, it had a lot more potential than what we got. I would love to see a continuation of it, and maybe, even a reboot or something like that. I know it's kind of like talking like a movie series here, but I would love to see like a whole kind of reboot and taking that element of Chimpy Chippas and kind of revamping it and seeing how they could go from there. But ultimately, I think it just is missed potential. It's a good series, definitely, but in my opinion, it definitely had a lot more potential than what we got. And now we have a lot of series on here which I actually haven't checked out, and I kind of feel bad that I haven't checked them out considering I do a lot of analog horror content. But we have a series on here which is by far probably one of the highest potential in my opinion. But it can only go that far judging on the fact it's only got like 2 or 3 episodes in there. But the episodes we've gotten, perfect, bro. I think Dog Nightmares is one of the best out there, and I can't put it in good yet. I don't think. I think that there isn't enough content in the series to give it into anything other than has potential right now. But if it had more videos, it would be up here. That would be my honest ranking if it had more content in there. But I can only put it. You know what? No, this is my exception. I'm sorry. No, I'm gonna. Yes, I'm already wrecking my own rule. No, I can't put Dog Nightmares any lower than Scary Good. I love this series. I think Dog Nightmares is so unique because it's people with dog heads. And that might sound so stupid to you, but it's awesome. Dude, it's awesome. Trust me. Go check out Dog Nightmares. That is one of my favorite series out there right now. And it's one, in my opinion, the one thing keeping analog horror alive, along with the Walton Files and Harmony and Horror. So when it comes to Dog Nightmares, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. It is awesome. Now we have our first of the FNAF ones, I think. Yeah, Fazbear Toddler Fun. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I haven't really got much else to say about that one. It was decent. It was okay. And now we have one of the goats. There we go. Gemini. Gemini is by far one of the goats. I don't care what anybody says. Gemini Home Entertainment is by far one of the goats of analog horror. It has that name for a reason. It has the multiple film theories for a reason. It has the view count for a number of reasons, and it has the quality to back up all those reasonings. I think Gemini Home Entertainment is one of them ones where it's like, once you watch it, you're never going to forget it. Whether it be one specific scene, I do remember the one scene where the dude goes into the house and there's just this random, like, stringy thing sitting there growing itself. We also have the one where in the cabin in the woods thing, where there was a tree, but then it actually turned out it wasn't a tree, it was something completely different. That was also crazy. I mean, Gemini Home Entertainment for me was awesome, and I absolutely loved it. And you know what else is crazy? The next series we have here is also one of the goats, and that's Harmony and Horror. Baddington and analog horror. What more do you need to say, really? I mean, we all know Baddington is one of the goats. If you're familiar with his FNAF VHS tapes, you know he has the ability to create absolutely horrifying imagery. I mean, that Pirate Cove pre-show is a statement in itself. So when it comes to Baddington, if he creates anything, I will be watching it. It did actually take me a while to get to Harmony and Horror, admittedly, but when I officially watched it, holy cow, I loved it. It was awesome. By far one of the most entertaining series out there for me, and I absolutely loved every single moment of it. I do think there is similarities to do with FNAF in there. There's definitely is slight inspirations, but I definitely think it holds itself on its own. I mean, you can obviously say, oh, it's Mascot horror, so technically it came from FNAF. No, that's not exactly what I mean. What I mean by that is the fact that we got a series of a brother who are working together, but then crazy stuff happens in their relationship. Crazy stuff happens in the dad and the family relationship, that the dad goes crazy and stuff like that. And it's so on the nose of other series, but so unique at the same time. It's so confusing to explain, but you have to watch it to understand it and just like view it. It is 100% one of the best out there. And if you haven't watched it, please. It's a long enough series, but you will not regret it, honestly. Just kick back, put it on your TV, get some popcorn and watch Harmony and Horror, and you'll have an absolute blast. Man, I forgot how many of these I just haven't seen. There's definitely one on here that I haven't seen that I'm gonna get killed in the comments for not seeing. But here we go. We got Kane Pixels and the Backrooms. Okay, now this is a tough one to rank for many reasons. I never really considered it crazy analog horror. I would have just considered it a horror series, to be honest. But in this case, again, it has to. Oh, I don't know if it's goat level. Ooh, you know what? This might be controversial. That might be controversial. I'm really excited for the movie. I mean, I think the movie will be absolutely outstanding. I mean, you know me with A24. I love A24. I love them. And they're taking a Backrooms concept with Kane Pixels as director. Yes, Kane Pixels is living my dream at the moment. Bro is the same age as me, directing with A24. He's living the dream, dude. But at the moment, just based off the YouTube series, comparing it to Gemini and Harmony Horror and Basswood County, I prefer all three of them to the Backrooms on YouTube. However, the Backrooms concept as a whole, it might just be because of how saturated it got after a while with all the games and stuff, is what brought it a little bit down for me. I mean, if we had just left maybe the first and second video as is, that's where I would have been like, yeah, go. But when it kind of developed and there was like a lot of choices of how to expand the universe, I kind of lost interest because I'm not a crazy huge sci-fi person. So when it comes to that sort of stuff, like especially when it comes to the sci-fi and FNAF, I wasn't crazy onto it. But when it came to like the original two Backrooms videos, I remember the first one. I absolutely love that video. It's one of my favorite analog horror videos of all time. So when it comes to the actual concept of Backrooms, it's GOAT level, 100%. But in my opinion, the series as a whole is just scary good, and scary good is still amazing. By the way, it's an amazing series. But just in my opinion, I just prefer Harmony and Horror, Gemini, and Basswood County. That's just my own personal opinion. I just enjoy those series just a little bit more. But Kane Pixels instantly like comes onto the scene, one of the best analog horrors ever made. I mean, what more can I say? Now we have Lacey's Flash Games. Now I'm just gonna say this straight up. I think it has potential because I remember watching these and they're so intense, dude. They're so intense. It's crazy. I remember watching them and I had very crazy experiences with the Lacey's Flash Games on stream. If you know, you know. I think these are probably a little bit too graphic for the sake of being graphic. That is why I would kind of be putting them on the lower end. I feel that the Lacey's Flash Games at times can just be oh, it has to be disturbing for the sake of being disturbing without having an actual story. I just think it has potential. It's not my favorite series. The story, in my opinion, they haven't been great in each one, but I definitely think if there was a really good story to maybe a longer video, it could definitely have a lot of potential to be up there in the top tier. Now we have Local 58. Now, Local 58, I think, is one of the first analog horrors ever made. I think. And it's only right that it has to be in one of the top two tiers. Now, I'd be definitely leaning to go, off the top of my head, definitely leaning to go because of the one episode of, I think it's Children's TV. I think it's that episode where it's like an old school cartoon and he like walks through a graveyard. So, do I like it more than Harmony and Horror? I don't think so. I think that is the right ranking for me at the moment with the GOAT tier. And I hope that I'm not just being a nostalgia merchant or a like non-controversial merchant, because I know a lot of people will be like, oh, you only have the popular series in the top tier. I'm just going off my own opinion. But for me, Local 58 has to be GOAT. I mean, if I'm pretty sure it was one of the first analog horrors, so anything but the GOAT for me. I mean, come on. I think it has to be up there. Self-explanatory, really. And now we're going on to the Macabre experiment. Now, if I remember correctly, this is the Mickey Mouse analog horror. And yeah, very, very solid. I think good is the best way of putting it. I haven't watched it in a while, so it could honestly be up here. I just can't remember a lot of it. I do remember it being really, like, jump scare heavy, though. I do remember it having a lot of disturbing imagery. I do remember having a lot of that sort of stuff. So it definitely could be just one of the things where I need to refresh my memory on it. That could definitely be a huge factor of it. So when it comes to the Macabre experiment, I'm going to put it in good just because I don't remember a crazy amount of it. And I know someone's going to say, oh, you said this video wasn't that great because you didn't remember a lot of it. But yeah, I remember it being decent and scary. I just don't remember a lot of it, to be honest. And now we have Marble Hornets. Now this is the Slenderman thing. Now this might have actually been the first analog horror because I think this came out like over 10 years ago. I mean, if you count No Through Road as analog horror, I guess that's the first one. But Marble Hornets, I think is, yeah, I think it's up here. But where do I put it? Because it's a long series. I mean, I haven't even finished the full thing, so I kind of just feel bad for not putting some other series as high as this. But do I think, like, I enjoyed it, but I'm going to do that. Yeah, you know, that could be controversial now, because I actually think I prefer Dog Nightmares, The Backrooms, and Basswood over Marble Hornets. That might be, like, controversial, I don't know. But just based off what I saw, for me, Marble Hornets is solid. It's the best interpretation of Slenderman, You know, we don't talk about the Slenderman movie. We don't talk about that one. But that is by far the best interpretation of Slenderman for me. I mean, I think we definitely need a proper Slenderman movie. That is my own opinion. Let me direct it. No, I'm kidding. But genuinely, I think we need a solid Slenderman adaptation. If you ask me, make it rated R. Who cares about, oh, this movie needs to make money? I know, guess that's the whole thing with business and stuff. But genuinely, the Slenderman character can be such a disturbing character if you give it the ability to be disturbing. If you take away those restrictions of PG-13, give somebody, I don't know what director you could give it to, give someone a rated R Slenderman movie, and I promise you, it'll be awesome. There is so much you can do with Slenderman because it's also psychological horror along with body horror. I think that Slenderman has such potential to be that really disturbing, like, horror icon, but just because of how long it took for the movie to take place, I think it definitely let it down a little bit, and obviously the quality of the movie after a while was god awful, so I definitely laid it down to be like one of those really, really disappointing horror films. I know you could say give it to Blumhouse, but then again, you'll probably have the same people saying, oh, Blumhouse, you know, there's obviously the whole thing with Blumhouse being either really good or really bad, but genuinely, give someone the rights to Slenderman and they'll make an awesome series. And Marble Hornets is the prime example of that. Now we have the Monument Mythos. Yeah, these are good. Monument Mythos is awesome. They're very, very good. That's the only thing. I wouldn't classify them to be scary. That would be my only problem with Monument Mythos, is that they're not scary. I think it's very solid. Not scary at all. It's a long series again. Awesome series. Very complicated at times as well, but genuinely I think it definitely has to be up there in scary good, in my opinion. But for me, not much to say other than the fact that you kind of have to watch it to understand it. So yeah, if you haven't seen Monument Mythos and you have a little few hours to spare, definitely give it a shot. Now we have a lot I haven't seen. I mean, we're skipping all the way to the Smile tapes. I have not explored analog horror as much as I thought. Huh. I apologize. But yeah, we're going into the Smile tapes. Now, this one is interesting because if I put this where I genuinely want to put this, I'm going to get the recency bias. But see, the thing is, I love apocalypse stories. I love zombie stories. I love anything to do with, like, the undead or an infection, like The Last of Us. I mean, come on, I literally have The Last of Us tattooed on me. So, I love anything to do with, like, an infection or something like that. The Smile tapes literally combines analog horror and an infection together. How am I not going to love it? So the Smile tapes is in GOAT for me. I don't know if that's a unvalid opinion or a valid opinion. Let me know in the comments below. I'm either going to get slaughtered in the comments or, oh my god, Cal, you're too generic. Do I care? No, this is my opinion. Now we have Sonic Limited Edition, The Lost Cartridge. I did think this was the other Sonic tapes, like the more recent ones. I actually don't think it is. I think I've seen this. I remember watching it a while ago. I remember seeing a Sonic thing. I'm going to put it in Missed Potential. I mean, I'm going to do that, actually. Hold on. Yeah, there we go. I'm going to put it in Missed Potential because I don't really remember much of it. I know there's a new Sonic thing with, like, a kaiju version of Sonic. I really enjoyed that series, I have to admit. But the Sonic Limited Edition, The Lost Cartridge, I just don't remember much, and therefore I'm going to put it in Missed Potential because I don't remember much of it. By the way, when it says Missed Potential, I apologize. Sometimes it just will be my own memory being really bad, but I don't really remember much of this series, to be honest. Now we have Southern Hospitality. Now, I think, again, it's one of these ones where I have it in the back of my mind where I remember watching it, but again, I watch a lot of analog horror, so sometimes it just kind of pop out of my head. And I also just realized I completely misread Needle Mouse. Oh, yeah. My bad. I didn't even realize Needle Mouse was up there. My bad. Has potential, though. Very solid potential. Yeah, but Southern Hospitality, I don't remember crazy amounts of this. So, again, I apologize. And now we have a very interesting topic. The FNAF V.H.S. Squimpus. Now, we all know the whole backstory behind these tapes, but this is separating creator and creation. There we go. I said that when I reviewed the series as well. Now, this series for me is by far the best adaptation of the FNAF story. I think for me, so far, them tapes, especially the last three, the last three tapes of Memories, especially that Memories tape alone, is unbelievable. With the whole like Michael, if I remember, like if the tape has moved slightly, I will know. that voice acting is perfect. The dude who voice acted as William Afton in that series, perfection. So, I mean, I don't think there's any other place this can go. I genuinely don't think. You know what? That might be a crazy statement, but for me, as much as the story is, the development, the scares, I mean, the criminal alone horrified me for a week. I mean, that says it all for me personally. And now we have Super Mario. Oh, I remember this one. Super Mario 64, I think. Is that? Yeah, 64 classified. I remember this really scaring me. I remember this scaring me so badly. And yeah, I definitely think it goes there. This series scared me so much when I watched it a few years back. This series scared me when I watched it. Honestly, I was terrified. The scares in that series are top tier. Like for me, when it comes to Super Mario 64 Classified, I mean, I love the whole thing of like taking a like kind of establishment like where Mario or Sonic or whatever, taking them into analog horror. But man, some of them just go all out with it, and Super Mario 64 scared the hell out of me, dude. I will not lie, it scared me so badly. Now we have Tapes from the Dark Side. Now again, it's one of these ones where I don't exactly remember a lot of it. I think I remember it being decent though, so I'm gonna put it in good. I'm gonna put it in just there. I think yeah, Tales from the Dark Side or Tapes from the Dark Side. Sorry. I mean, I remember it being decent enough. I mean, definitely one of them ones where it's like I can't really remember much again, but I do remember like a little like bits and pieces from it. So it's definitely one of the ones where I have to put it in good, just because I did enjoy it when I did watch it. So has to go there. Man, I have not seen a lot of these analog horrors. I have to admit. Have to admit, there is not a lot I've seen this, except for the Little Curse. I have seen that, and for me, hmm. I wasn't that big a fan of this one. And I don't like putting them in awful. Because I don't think any creation can be awful. Well, some can be. But I just don't really remember much of this one. So I'm going to put it in missed potential. But I remember it being creepy. I do remember having nightmares of that specific image. So, kind of self-explanatory for that. And now here we go. Here we go. This is an interesting one. The Mandela Catalogue. Now, I'm going to put it in a section that are either going to shock people or be, like, in agreement with a lot of people. I think the Mandela sits there. And if you're wondering why, for me, right, I know I stated it in the last videos, so that I only really watched episode 1 and 2. I rewatched 1, 2, and all the way through. I watched all the whole series because I wanted to have that sort of like ability to speak on the Mandela Catalogue. I loved 1 and 2. Episode 1 and 2 of the Mandela Catalogue is top tier analog horror. That, like, oh my god, behind you scene is terrifying. The dude popping up on the TV, terrifying. The one where it's like the kind of establishment of like the mother, with going into the room, the kid is crying, the dude's on the TV, light turns on and she's hanging from the ceiling. Creepy as all hell with the music as well behind it. And if it continued like that for me, I would have loved it. I would have been in GOAT for me. But as the series got on, I kind of didn't really establish myself with the story. I know episode 5 came out more recently, and I thought it was decent. But for me, when I look at the series in Scary Good, the only ones I could really see it compare with are the last 3 with Marble Hornets, Monument Mythos, and Super Mario. At the moment, I prefer Dog Nightmares. I think Dog Nightmares is very, very solid and has the potential to be so much greater. However, if we're going off like, okay, these first 2 episodes versus them first 2 episodes, Mandela Catalog will be top tier. But that's not what we're doing. We're basing on the entire series as a whole, and I prefer Dog Nightmares as a whole. So when it comes to this thing, I definitely think that Mandela Catalog is kind of a missed potential. I think it has so much. I think it would do great as a series, like an actual TV show or an actual movie. I think it would be perfect. But for me, as the series got on, I kind of just fell out of love with the storytelling of it. But the first 2 episodes are top tier. That is something I will always hold dear to my heart. Those first 2 episodes of the Mandela Catalog were peak analog horror. But as the series got on, I just didn't really associate with it as much, and that's just how it is. And now we have the Tangi virus. I always mess up that name. Now, again, I know I'm missing a lot of series, but I haven't actually seen a lot of them. So this is the Tangi virus. I remember this being really good. I do remember this being really good, along with it being created by Vintage 8, who done Children Under the House, and you know how much I love Children Under the House. But the Tangi virus, I remember it being very, very solid. I never really thought it was crazy good, but I thought it was solid, and I'm gonna put it right there. I think that's a very solid opinion on it. It's one of them ones where it was really good, but I again don't really remember a lot of it. But I remember, like, I watched it recently. But you know when you kind of watch something recently, then like a week later you kind of just forget about it. So that was kind of me with the Tangi virus. Like I did enjoy it, but it wasn't my favorite from Vintage 8, and I don't think it's better than Mandela catalog for me. I think it's definitely solid. Is it better than all these? Absolutely. Better than all these? Absolutely. Is it better than Mandela? No, and I don't think it's any better than the scary good ones either, and it's nowhere near the GOAT level. So I definitely think it's solid. But that's kind of just all my opinion is. That it's just a very solid series. And now, okay. Oh, I wonder. There we go. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Obviously, I'm kidding. Obviously, the Walton Files is going to be number one for me. I know a lot of people are going to be like, Cal, how is the Walton Files number one? How do you think it's number one? I have a whole playlist on my channel for the Walton Files. I love this series. I absolutely adore this series. And there's nothing that's going to change that. That is my number one, and that is staying there. No questions asked. Perfect, well, very good storytelling. Perfect characters. Amazing horrific effects. Amazing animatronic designs. And ultimately, a really intriguing plot points that you can theorize for maybe around 20 million years about. So, The Walton Falls is number one. End of conversation. Oh, this is another really good one. Winter of 83. I love this series. I thought it was really, really good. I thought this series is solid. Winter of 83 is really, really enjoyable, dude. If you haven't seen it, it's super interesting. And that's the thing. This is how this tier list is getting now, where the GOAT, Scary Good, and Good are all super good opinions on it. Like, all these series are super, super good. It's just that when they get into Scary Good, I just don't think they're as good as the ones in GOAT. That is simple as that, how these tiers are getting. But Winter of 83 is so entertaining. Honestly, I'm not even going to say anything about it. Just go watch it. It's so entertaining. It's like kind of a slasher almost. It's super good. Just go and watch it. Trust me, you will not regret it. Ooh, this is an interesting one. I know I've missed a lot of things. I genuinely haven't seen any of these before, but we have a very interesting one in Boys Vert. Boys Vert is a really interesting one, and I think that's the best way of putting it because of how minimal of a story there is. Because if we're going off a series as a whole, is it scary and unnerving? Absolutely. Absolutely, it's scary and unnerving. But I just think that there isn't enough storytelling. I think that's definitely more symbolism for storytelling, and it's almost like you watch the videos and interpret the story for your own viewing. And I definitely think that's clever. But I would love to see the actual character in that first video in a sort of story based. And I think that Boys Verse is definitely one of them ones where it's like, it's very confusing. It's a theorist's worst nightmare for me. And I remember watching it. I was very, very clueless when I first watched it. But when you start to piece things together and stuff like that, it is quite clever. But when it comes to it, I just wish it had a little bit more story. If it's finished, I'm a little bit sad because it does have a lot of potential to, develop into one of the best ones. But for me, it has potential right now. Okay, well, this is an interesting one. This is a very interesting one, isn't it? Very, very interesting one. Because of a lot of things. I have voiced my opinion on this series. And do you know what it is, right? I find it very hard to call this series absolutely awful. And I know I made a video stating it wasn't good. But see, the thing is, in my opinion, this series right here is the definition of missed potential. I understand all the controversies behind this series, and I know that. I know it's super controversial, and those controversies are valid. But I'm just thinking of if the Urban Spook story developed how it ended. The series ended on a really top tier note. I've said that on multiple occasions. I think that the last two episodes of Urban Spook, amazing. Because we get to see the killers in a perfect light. Because I think with Urban Spook is there's a lot of good stuff in there. But it's just the bad outweighs the good. That might be really, really controversial putting it there and not there because of what's gone down. But with Urban Spook, it's one of them series where The animation towards the end is so good. And that one video with Isabel, the teacher, I think it was. I remember her, but she was Blowhole Isabel. I remember it night and day. Oh my god, the voice acting. Urban Spook, all I wanted from Urban Spook is to continue in that way with the voice acting and the animation, because that series alone has so much potential. It had so much. The killers are terrifying. They're vicious. They're really gory. The story isn't great. That's the only thing, with the whole thing of like every episode being somewhat similar to the past. But then it gets a little bit too advanced with the whole gore and the kills. Don't get me wrong, it is kind of just being sick for the sake of being sick. Regardless of that, if I'm talking about the good of this series, with the kills being very gory, yes. As they went on, they did get a bit too excessive, but regardless, the animation towards the end is amazing. The animation's so good. You know, in the scene where the two killers go up and cover the camera and go into the house and kill the family, that's terrifying, because you can hear everything. Then the voice acting in that one episode is perfect, and I think if it just continued like that, it would have been a top tier series for me. If they honestly rebooted the series and continued in the way of how it ended there, I would have been so happy. And I do think it's the definition of missed potential. Is it awful? Yes, there is definitely elements of Urban Spook that are awful, and that is predominantly the storytelling. I definitely think that this series is the definition of missed potential, and I would love to see kind of like a reboot of it in the side of light that way that series ended, in my opinion. And now we have another one where I love, and I don't care what anybody says. This is very, very controversial, I think. The Children Under the House is a GOAT level analog horror. I don't care what anyone says. It is probably the best storytelling of any analog horror I've ever watched. And that's just my own opinion. But I genuinely think this is the best level of storytelling in all of analog horror. I think it's perfect. The analog horror is amazing. Not too scary, yes. But I think that could be a movie. No problem. That could be a movie, and it could be amazing. Please make it a movie, please. But The Children Under the House by Vintage 8 is one of my favorites. It's definitely top 5 for me, and that's why it has to go into GOAT. It is better than Harmony and Horror, yes. Better than Oak 58, better than Small Taste, and better than FNAF V.H.S. Not as good as Gemini, in my opinion, and not as good as the Walton Files, but it probably sits right at number 3 for me. I think that series is amazing. I think Godzilla, the Man in the Suit, would be top 5 as well for me. But I don't think the Godzilla one is here. Where is it? Is the Godzilla one here? Surely the Godzilla one's here. Maybe I just missed it. Hold on. Okay, for some weird reason, the Man in the Suit isn't on here, but the Man in the Suit is probably in GOAT for me. Just imagine if unknowingly ever sees this video. I love you. But yeah, your series will sit right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Imagine the Man in the Suit is in that section right there, in between the Children in the House and FNAF VHS. That's where I would put the Man in the Suit. It should be on this list, but I can't find it for some weird reason. But by far, the Children Under the House is one of my favorites. Go watch it. I'm not going to say anything else. It is the definition of should be a movie script. 100% should be, and it's perfect. I love it. Vintage 8, top tier. Now we have, I think this is Pastra's series, right? This is Pastra's series. I never finished this one, but I do remember it being very, very, very good. And I'm going to put it right here. Now, Dreams of an Insomniac is obviously one of the Pastra series. And Pastra, as something that I have always associated with their series, is their art style is amazing. The animation is amazing. And everything, and even their storytelling is super solid. And I think it is a very good series. I think that is where it lies. Had a lot of potential to be really good, and it met a lot of potential to be as good as it was. And I think Dreams of an Insomniac is definitely one of them ones where like you have to watch it. It is super, super good. Has a lot of potential to be better, but I would love to see Pastra, advance on that series 100%. Pastra is super, super talented. I love their videos. They're awesome. I love these so much. And yeah, Dreams of an Insomniac, awesome series. Now here's a very interesting one. Liminal Land. I think this is one of the ones where, unfortunately, it has been discontinued. And that's why I'm going to put it there. Because Liminal Land was one of them ones where it had so much potential. It had so much. And you know what's crazy? It was all AI. That's the mad thing. Every photo you saw of Liminal Land, every photo was apparently AI. That is scary. Like, very, very scary. And I just think that the fact that that was all AI, with the photos and stuff, along with some really good storytelling, I mean, it says it all for me. Liminal Land's an awesome series, dude. Go watch it. It hasn't got much episodes in there. That was the one thing that held it back for me for being good. I think it's an awesome series, but just because it didn't really have a proper ending, it can only go into has potential or missed potential because it could have been so much better than it actually was. And I definitely think it could have been. Unfortunately, it has been discontinued, I'm pretty sure. But I would have loved to see a continuation of that series because I thought it was awesome. I thought I saw the McKinney family tapes, but apparently it's not here. Well, anyway, let's just rank it ourselves. The McKinney family tapes would be in scary good for me. They'd probably be in between. Let me fix that. They would probably be there. I'd say it's better. In my opinion, the McKinney family tapes are better than Marble Hornets. It would be in between Dog Nightmares and Marble Hornets. So it'd be fourth in scary good. I don't know why it's not on the list. Just there's a lot of analog horrors on here that I just can't see, and obviously there's a few on here that just aren't on here for some reason. So there's a lot I haven't seen whatsoever, but there is obviously ones that are missing, like the Godzilla tape, along with the McKinney family tapes. But we have Vita Carney's. Now, this is a really interesting one, because where I'm going to put this. Because do I think it's GOAT? No. I don't think it's GOAT. That could be controversial. I think that's where I'm going to put it. I'm going to put Vita Carney's at top of Scary Good. Because with Vita Carney's, I think I need to see Season 2. I need to see Season 2. Because Season 2 has a lot of potential. It, honestly, probably should be in GOAT. But just judging on my own personal taste, I think that they were juggling a lot with the amount of characters. I mean, I guess the big snake, the meat snake, could have been utilized a lot better in my opinion. I hope that they do that, because with the look of the mimic in Season 2, it looks crazy. Like, it looks so scary, and I can't wait to see it. Like, honestly, Episode 2 or Season 2 is make or break. Season 2 is make or break for Vita Carney's for me, and I can't wait. Now, by the looks of it, I haven't actually seen a lot of the rest of these analog horrors, and I apologize. Because I probably should have. I definitely have recognized some of the photos on here, but I just can't make out any ones that I recognize, like, actually series-wise. So that's my official analog horror tier list. I apologize that I haven't ranked any of these, because that is an insane amount of series that I haven't seen. But that is my official ranking. I'm happy with that. I noticed there's probably none in awful, and I apologize if there is your opinion that, oh yeah, that should have been an awful, but this is just my opinion. I will leave the link to this tier maker in the description below. I want to see what you guys' opinions are on your own opinion on analog horror. I'd love to hear your own opinions. Definitely let me know what you'd be in your GOAT level, what would be in your awful level, and I really do appreciate everyone tuning in for this long video. I'm assuming it's going to be super, super long, but thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all had the most fantastic day. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, genuinely, it means a lot to me, the support I've had on the channel recently. It means the absolute world. So thank you all so much for watching. Have the most amazing day, and of course, as always, stay safe. Leave a like and subscribe if you like anything to do with horror videos on YouTube, and have the most amazing day. Stay safe, and peace. First shot of this episode. Tammy picks this house.
Oh, what about that one?
Now, if you ask me, that is the, worst house you can pick. It has wallpaper on the outside.